Okay, it looks like we have everybody coming in. Welcome everyone to another installment of Ventana Wildlife Society's Condor Zoom chat. I'm Joe Burnett, senior biologist here at Ventana Wildlife Society, Condor program manager. Kelly's not going to be here tonight, but he sends along his holiday cheer and happy holidays. The rest of us will be giving you an update of what's been happening. We had many of you were tuned in not just a couple weeks ago for our live streaming Condor release down at San Simeon. That was pretty exciting. So we have some follow-up updates on how those birds are doing and other great stuff to update you on. And with that, I'm going to get going here and introduce the rest of the crew here. Real quick, on our rebuild update, we finished our cleanup. It looks like it's about on the final sign-off approval, so that's good news. So we're now moving ahead with finishing the architectural drawings for the new structures, mainly the release pen, the new release pen that's going to get built, and the new cabin for the crew. And these are all getting, I think they're about 80% completed. And then the next steps will be getting boots on the ground, starting to build hopefully by spring or summer. Yeah, there's just some photos of just the cleanup effort. It's nice to see all that debris out of there. It was there almost a year, so we're really glad to have it out of the way and back to what it was. So anyway, yeah, and if anybody is, just a reminder for Zooms, please mute your mic during the presentation. It just allows us to communicate a little more clearly. So just asking anybody out there that's got their not muted to unmute or to go ahead and mute. Thank you. So again, the crew's here. Hey crew, come out, unmic yourselves and say hi. We got Mike Stake here. Say hi, Mike.
Hey everyone.
We got Darren Gross. Where are you, Darren? I know you're in that maze of gallery somewhere.
Yeah, right here. Yeah, I'm not you this week, Joe. So it's nice to be back to myself.
You did an awesome job. Man, I was ready to hand it off again, buddy. Yeah, Darren did an awesome job last month. And we got Kara Fadden here. Kara, say hi.
Hi, guys.
And again, all these folks are going to be helping me today, thankfully, with the update. They got a lot of good stuff. And we have Evan McGreeth.
Hey, everyone.
And Danae Mouton. Where's Danae?
Hi, everybody.
Oh, Danae is actually with Carolyn. So go ahead and say hi, Carolyn. And Grayson is still down in San Simeon, holding down the fort. Where you at,
Hi,
Grayson? And I don't know if Tim Huntington joined us today, but if you're out there, Tim, say hi.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, he is there. All right. Awesome. Cool. This is going to be fun. We got a lot of great stuff to fill you in on today. Most notably, the big release that happened on December 4th. Really awesome. You know, we had a special guest from the Gorilla Fund, and that was really awesome to get another perspective on another endangered species, and makes you appreciate all these really cool wildlife that we still have with us, thanks to efforts like ours and other folks working to protect endangered species. But here's a little clip for those of you that missed the release. This is kind of a gist of what happened. This is what we waited for. We thought Iniko was going to be first. I think everyone had their money on Iniko, and then Dian swooped in. Dian Fossey came in and made the first leap, and it was pretty awesome, caught live right there. And then Iniko went right after. And then Rachel went out, what was it, probably 40 minutes later. We had the cam down. We had the cam turned down watching Iniko and Diane down on the slope. They were meeting and greeting with some other birds. And Rachel Carson flew out right after. So it was probably 30, 40 minutes. Anybody remember exactly? But,
yeah, it was about that. She was pretty cozy in there. So
yeah.
It took her a little bit longer to get out than the other two.
Yeah, and again, like all of our releases, it's really cool. The crew was down there behind the scenes. They were pulling the doors, and you can watch that a replay of that release on our YouTube page. We have a link to that actually on our website. So check it out if you haven't seen it. It's pretty cool. You can see the kind of behind the scenes view of how the biologists release condors and actually get to see them get released. So we are now finished with our 2021 releases. Pretty awesome. You know, I think the biggest story was Iniko being part of that batch. You know, her story was definitely one of survival. We didn't know if she was going to make it, and to have her come full circle and get released was pretty awesome. And again, to, you know, Kara came up with the great idea of naming them after important women in conservation, and our members voted on some really awesome names. I think they were pretty much perfect. The different names that came up, Jane Goodall, of course, Jan Hamber, who's worked with Condors longer than anyone, and then you know, Rosalie Barrow Edge, Diane Fossey, and of course Rachel Carson. So that was a real honor to be able to name the birds after those ladies this year. So, oh, sorry. These are some cool photos of the birds after release, and I think this is where I'm gonna hand off to Carolyn and Grayson, because Grayson, you took some of these photos, right?
I don't know if I took that one, but yeah, I did take a bunch of them.
Yeah, I lean on you guys to figure out, but this is a great shot. This looks like right after the birds went out.
Yep. Yeah. They like to hang out in a tree that's right in front of the pen. And they've been roosting together at night in the same tree. So that's been pretty cool to see.
Yeah, and you guys just rode out a pretty darn big storm down there with some pretty high winds, and I think folks watching the cam saw the new release birds all hunkered down on the ground during the peak of that storm, and you know, you guys were checking in on them. Maybe give us a recap of what happened there.
Carolyn, you want to take this one?
No, you can take it. Sorry.
Okay.
The dogs are barking.
Yeah, it was we were watching them a lot on the cameras, just like everybody else was, and it was really you know, sad to see them out all cold and, you know, hunkered down like that, but they were all really safe. And some of them were in the trees surrounding the pen, and then the three of them, I think it was Jane, Rachel, and I'm not sure who else, but they were like kind of standing right at the DDT, just like hunkered down and all, but they all like had each other, which was really nice during that storm. And they, as soon as like the sun came out, they just like started sunning and, you know, preening themselves. So they're happy, like way happier now that the sun is actually out again.
Yeah, boy, some great shots. This is Dian and Iniko looking good in these photos. Yeah, you know, I was watching and I remember when they get wet, you know, I think it's a pretty good way to understand how sorry, I just had to enable something real quick. Sorry, folks. Yeah, to see how tough they are, and I mean just how well they are adapted to dealing with that wet weather. I mean, they look like they're in pretty rough state, but those feathers they have, you know, those exterior feathers that you see, a lot of their contour feathers just incredibly waterproof. And then we know it from when we handle the birds, they have this really thick down layer. I mean, you have to get to the actual skin level, you have to pull apart the fine, it's like they have a little down sweater going on underneath that, all those feathers. So I've always felt like they're always warm, and it looks worse than it probably is, at least from our perspective. But yeah, it's pretty amazing to see what these birds can ride out in the especially a big storm like that. That one actually I think it hit San Simeon bigger than it hit Big Sur.
Yeah, it was really windy here.
Yeah, I've never seen the camera shaking like that. It was just moving all over the place. Love this shot. This is really great. Maybe you can. Who's in this one? What we got? Is that?
I took that picture. That was like right after the storm when it was like getting sunny, and yeah, that 7-11 and 10-11 and that's a snag that they like to perch on. And yeah, they were just sunning their wings and trying to dry out their feathers.
Yeah, and they dry out pretty quick. Doesn't take much.
Mhm.
Oh, what a great photo.
Yeah, that's another shot of 1011 while she was sunning.
Beautiful. Yeah, so the good news is they're staying close to home. They haven't really taken a big flight yet. This crew hasn't. What about the other three?
Let me think. 10:42. I don't think they haven't left the immediate vicinity yet. But they actually, I was surprised the first three when they left, like the first week at least, they didn't leave like the pen area at all. But the last three that released, they are at least exploring like surrounding areas, but not going too far away. But like we can still see them walking towards where they are when we go to the blind. But they're definitely like exploring the canyon that's close to the pen more than the other ones were the first week.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if they're following the lead of those other three birds, the first three that went out.
Yeah.
Got to figure some stuff out, for them.
Mhm.
And now they're getting benefit from that. Well, I know the first three, a couple of those birds were away from the site they weren't that far, but it took them a couple weeks to get back, right?
Yeah, 1019 and 1036 were gone. I think 1019 was gone for like, Carolyn, do you remember?
Yeah, it was 18 days. And then 1036, it was 16 days.
Yeah, so just a testament to, we talk about condors don't have to feed every day. And I think it's by design. I think even when they fledge in the wild, they can get in spots where mom and dad might not be able to get to them for a few days. And we know with just some of the storms and the weather, even for the adults, condors basically get pinned down by the weather. And, there's times in Big Sur where the rain just won't stop, to rain for a week straight. So these birds are super well designed. That crop can store food up to 2, 3, 4 pounds of meat in there that can sustain them, and just their fat reserves, like a lot of birds. So this, it's nice that when we send these birds out, when we talk about our release site, our release checklist for these birds, it's making sure they got plenty of meat on their bones, because for that exact reason, so they can ride out these little stints where they're trying to figure stuff out. But yeah, it's interesting. I think a lot of it is they're just kind of sensory overloaded. They're out there just taking it all in and just connecting all the, trying to figure out how to fly. And, it's pretty amazing. Oh, look at this shot, man. So this is, this is Rosalie, one of the first three released.
Yeah, that was taken the same day of like 1011 and 711 all sunning in that canyon. So they were all taking advantage of that little bit of sun.
This was after the storm?
Yeah, it was right after the storm.
Yeah, and look how dry. Pretty much almost dried out.
Yeah.
There's a wet bird.
Yeah.
They do look funny when they're wet. Yeah, this is a great shot. Well, awesome photos. Thanks for taking all those, because I think, we get a lot of, it's hard to put yourself out there, but the photos really bring you into that world, of kind of behind the scenes of what you can't see, what these birds are really going through. And just even coming and flying in and landing on this snag is a challenge for a bird that's never flown before, coming in at 30, 40 miles an hour, careening in, learning how to land on that spot, and then picking a good spot to ride out the storms. I think that's the biggest, I think of our concern the last week was, boy, did they pick a good spot? Because, the winds get, those winds get crazy enough, they could blow them off a tree like this, so ideally they get in a tree with a lot of cover, and they're kind of low down to the lower down a canyon. But yeah, I'm glad to hear they rode out their first storm. So it's first storm. They got a notch on their belt, I guess.
And Joe, a lot of positive, appreciative comments about the photographs. One question from Karen: how far is that canyon from the release site? How far away are many of these pictures taken from the release site?
very close, actually. Yeah, it's literally just like right across from where the pen is, which is up on this little hill, and then the canyon's like right there.
Yeah, so someplace that you just don't quite see on explore.org. So it's a great extra view. Much appreciated.
And here's our favorites, Mike's Bird and Big Gulp. So any prospective females they're looking into trioing up with, you think, or?
We haven't seen any yet, but they have been displaying to each other a little bit. So
Eventually they will draw the eye of a special someone. Well, ideally a special couple, and they each go off and pair up and we get 2 nests out of it. But yeah, pretty good to hear. Everyone's always curious what these 2 are up to down there. And it is unfortunate that they had a really good trio going with 725, and unfortunately we lost her to lead poisoning. So might take a little while for, again, condors are long lived. If they don't find a mate right away, it's definitely not abnormal. So it definitely takes time. So hopefully they find a suitor soon. So Iniko's journey almost came to a full circle from the time we rescued her, where she survived the fire, the rescue, to release. It was really cool to see her make the full circle journey. And, it was definitely a celebration to just finally see her go out. I think for all of us, we're a little emotional to see her finally take that first leap back to freedom. And we're all excited for the day she reunites with with Redwood Queen, what will happen there. But yeah, we posted a video this week, and I wanted to show it again, that Joan put together. The crew did a lot of the filming. It pulls together clips from back the nest cam last when Iniko was a chick, all the way up to now, up to the release. So that's this video right here. I'm going to play this. It's about 4 minutes long, so enjoy. I think we like this footage at the end of Iniko right after she was released, because she pretty aggressively protected that carcass. Awesome job too. Big shout out to Joan for putting that together, Joan Biddle. Thank you, Joan, and all the crew for putting together an awesome presentation. But you guys can speak to it too, that we're down there when she ran out. I mean, she was pretty aggressive on the carcass, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think she got in a little tussle with 904, who's a much older bird who was out there, and she definitely gave him a piece of her mind. As soon as she got out, she was ready to get at that food. So it was really, really awesome to see that.
Yeah, and on the chat line, Eve comments, "I'm not sure Iniko knows that she doesn't have to eat every day." I'm thinking now that Iniko is getting a little bit of a reputation for her eating. But also there's a question, has Iniko received any sort of mentor from another bird? Has another bird come in and shown mentoring behavior towards Iniko?
So I haven't seen that personally. If anything, Iniko is the mentor at this point. She's really taking to being back in the wild. She, like today, for example, she like puffs up her cheeks and just like starts grunting at the other condors, and they move for her. And they let like 566, the dominant male that's there, he lets her eat with him, and like he doesn't let others eat with him. So I think she's the mentor bird at this point.
She's definitely got the redwood queen lineage.
Yeah.
I mean, she's definitely a child of the queen.
Oh yeah, excellent.
Yeah, and we are still holding the Yurok redwood birds. They'll be with us again until it sounds like spring. We're guessing the end of February, early March. And those birds will be taken from San Simeon up to the new release site up in Northern California. And from what I hear, they're in the midst of constructing the pen, and things should be things are looking pretty darn good.
Hey, Joe, Lori in Los Angeles wants to know, why do the Yurok birds have black tags?
It's nothing specific. It's really from the facility they came from. Those are temporary IDs. I believe the Yurok and redwood they might have. I don't think they've decided on the tagging system they're going to use in terms of numbers and colors for up there, because they're kind of an independent flock. But right now, those are temporary tags. But again, they still represent their stud book numbers. We put the last 2 digits of the stud book on there. But yeah, good question. All right, take it away, Darren.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Yes, so a quick update on some of the wild fledged chicks. So starting with 1077, who's a Uniperos chick. Kind of holding steady with that. We're hopeful that that chick is still alive, and based on 663's flight patterns and when we've been able to see him, it definitely seems like he's still trying to get food to help raise that chick. So sort of on standby with that. And yeah, we're checking the cameras and photos and from trail cameras that we have set up all over our feeding sites to see if an untagged juvenile shows up at some point. I know a lot of you folks out there are watching the Explore Cam too, to see if an untagged juvenile shows up, and that'll probably be our best indicator of what 1077 status will be when he shows up there. Moving on to 1089, who's a Amigo and Kodama's chick. We haven't seen that chick in a little while, but based on the parents and their activity, we've been following the parents pretty closely, and they keep returning to this spot that's pretty close to the nest. So we're pretty confident what they're doing is they're returning to where their fledgling is, 1089, and checking on that bird, making sure that it's okay, and giving it food pretty regularly. So we're very confident that that chick is doing just fine. 1095, I think Tim has seen this bird most recently. But yeah, that chick seems to be doing okay. Kind of similar to 1089, where both the parents, Ferdinand and Pinnacle's female 550, are going back to the nest area pretty regularly to check on that chick. So yeah, we know that chick's doing all right. And 1104 is the chick we've been able to get the most visuals of recently. Again, that's Miracles and Nomad's chick. And I think Evan and Kara will talk about a little later here. They were up there a couple weeks ago and got to see that chick with both parents. So we'll look forward to hearing from them on that chick a little more. Yeah, and then the Pinnacles chicks 1078 and 1096, they're doing great. I think just a week ago or maybe 2 weeks ago, chick 1078 showed up to the facility that Pinnacles operates for the Condors there, and was with a bunch of other free flying birds, and it was looking great. So we were really excited about that news. And then yeah, 1096, I think Tim also saw pretty recently and got some really awesome photos of that I think we'll show here later. But yeah, both of those chicks from Pinnacles are doing great as well.
Yeah, and believe it or not, we were talking about this, Darren, earlier. Nest season is right around the corner. The next one.
Yeah. Yeah, we're starting to put together sort of lists of potential breeders this upcoming year, and yeah, it's right around the corner. So we've got a few birds we're keeping our eye on. Some birds that have been hanging out together for a long time now, who we hope will nest finally this season. So yeah, in the next Zoom update, we will have more information on that and feature some of those birds.
Yeah, and with Redwood Queen and Phoenix, we're hoping to get the nest cam going sooner than later. Maybe catch more of as they investigate the nest, try to get some of that pre-nesting behavior, so everybody can start tuning into that. Again, we just got to work out some kinks there, but we hope to have that rolling for everyone this year, and hopefully they do really well. All right, this is a great picture. I think this is Evan and Kara, jump on in.
Yeah, so Evan and I went out, I think it was last week, and our main goal was to see this chick, and it was really a quite windy day, and that area was burnt in the Dolan fire, so we kind of pre-made the decision to not go off trail, just the risk of falling trees and branches and everything, and hoped that we would be able to see this chick. And kind of pretty instantly we saw 538, and then we saw 574 flying all over the place. And then I was walking down the trail, and Evan pointed over my head and was like, I think that's, and it was a chick. So all three of them were kind of flying all around us and extremely aware of us being there. But the chick is flying amazingly, and yeah, we hope to see it up in Big Sur soon.
Yeah, and the photo on the right, this is why this is such a special spot. This is the view from this nest area. Pretty incredible spot. I mean, condors tend to pick the most amazing areas to nest, and this one definitely ranks up there.
Yeah, we're definitely lucky to be able to go out and watch those birds in these beautiful places. That was just the most amazing view while we were looking at an untagged juvenile flying around wild fledge. It was just, yeah, an incredible moment.
Yeah, I mean, those are the moments, I mean, as biologists, those are the moments we live for. This view right here, just there's such a magic to it when it happens. You definitely, it's pretty awesome, because not only that, the chicks survive, but at the same time, it's such a sign of hope. I mean, there's no better sign than when the birds are producing in the wild, and when you just see this perfect specimen, this untagged, clean. I mean, look how clean that bird is. It's the way it's supposed to be, so
yeah, Evan and I definitely looked at each other and were like, wow, there's 3 condors flying around here right now. And as I said, the parents were definitely looking down on us, being very aware of us, but we're like, you guys did that. That chick is fledged and flying around. So it was really special.
That's so awesome. And then this photo, I think Tim is here, right, Tim?
Yep.
Yeah, you captured some pretty amazing photos the last couple of weeks. This is a great one of 1095. Maybe give us a little background on on when you got this shot?
Yeah, this was maybe 3 weeks ago. I was hiking in Big Sur and managed to spot this bird flying around, and I always hike with a camera in my hand just in case. And this, although this kind of looks like I'm wide open, I was shooting through a mass of trees, and I had a half-second window where the bird was in a gap, and I just blasted away on the shutter and managed to get this shot before it disappeared behind more trees. So I got lucky.
Yeah, and I mean it's like we were talking about. It's a pretty amazing feeling when you do sneak a view at these wild-fledged chicks, because they definitely have a very wild feel. I mean, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, it's as others were saying, it's like you're seeing the eventual future of the program when you're seeing the birds with no tags flying around, and it's very cool to see. I've been lucky enough now over the last 3 or 4 years to be able to see untagged juvies flying around, and it's been great.
Speaking of which, you got another one.
This is 1096. This is taken in Pinnacles in the park from a hiking trail. So anybody could go hike there, potentially see an untagged juvenile flying around. And I just got, this was last Friday, I just got lucky. For whatever reason, a whole bunch of birds had decided to spend the night up at the High Peaks area. And this was one of 26 birds I saw flying around that morning. And yeah, it's always cool to see the untagged birds. I did actually see 1078, the other Pinnacles juvenile. But that bird has a tag on it already, and so it's not quite the same. But yeah, to see 1096 with no tag flying around is pretty cool.
Yeah, these are amazing shots, and you always say, "Oh, I just got lucky," but I don't know, man. You put in the time, so you do a lot. You have to. It is quite. You got to be in the right place at the right time for sure. Yeah, and I think we all look forward to that day when none of these birds have tags. You know, we know it's part of what we have to do right now to understand what's going on with condors. But I think we all look forward to that day and work towards that day of not seeing condors with tags. And that will be a great day for sure. But yeah, these birds will be untagged for a while. We will eventually catch them and get transmitters on them again. We want to know how these birds will do in the wild, especially wild-fledged birds. We want to know their survival, how long they make it. If they don't make it, we want to know why they didn't make it. So it's the only way we can do that is by putting these transmitters on these guys. So it's not an easy task, but fortunately the condors are very large and they can accommodate these transmitters pretty easily. So yeah, it's a great tool, important tool, really pays huge dividend for the conservation of the species. Evan produced some awesome maps again. Give us a recap here, Evan.
Yeah, sure. With the end of the year coming up, I thought it'd be just cool to see where the condors have gone this year, and you know, where they like to hang out. And you know, no surprise, there's a lot of activity shown on this map in the areas where we're placing food out, our management areas in Big Sur and San Simeon. Also, big area of interest out there in Pinnacles. But I also just like, there are a lot of cool things that happened this year that we caught on GPS. So like some of these boundaries, like the northernmost point was set up in Mount Diablo by 8/28 in September. That was a historic flight. They haven't had condors up there for a very long time. We also had birds traveling very far south. 974, one of our released birds from last year, set the southernmost boundary of this past year's range, going almost to Santa Barbara in early May. And then, yeah, we also even had condors out there in the Santa Cruz Mountains, which was just an amazing, you know, observation. Cool. I think that was, you know, one of the or the only times that we had GPS records of condors up there in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And yeah, that happened back in October. So there was just
And they
a
came
lot
pretty
of,
close to Año Nuevo, didn't they? I mean, the flight path for that bird was pretty close to Año Nuevo, which is a potential food source.
yeah, 943 and 986 got super close there. They definitely, they didn't stop very long anywhere, but they were cruising around, flying, looking for food sources probably. So it's awesome to see them up there.
Yeah, lots of great potential nesting up there. You know, speaking of redwoods, I mean, good Lord, they have some amazing redwood areas up there. And then, yeah, the elephant seals at Año Nuevo. I mean, those are two big items on their on their bucket list, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I think like, yeah, this map just highlights the expansion that's happening very quickly. You know, as biologists, it makes our job a little more challenging getting out here and trying to cover, you know, their coverage and track these birds. So it's really cool to see look at the data the GPS units are producing. And yeah, I think we're gonna get a big batch of GPS units deployed on more birds this year. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, super exciting.
Yeah, to continue like some of the GPS data that's being produced is really being able to, or give us the opportunity to observe these birds at like really fine detail. And something that we've been noticing lately is that the birds are starting to travel a little bit less. And that's something that's seasonal. We see that happen in the winter months when there's less thermal activity. The days are getting shorter, so they don't have as much time to travel. But yeah, I generated a table that just graphs out how that average daily distance is changing throughout the year. So you can see in November and December, January, February, the daily averages are pretty low. But then once we get into the summer months, May, June, July, in August, that's really, you know, getting up there. You know, they're traveling 50 miles a day, you know, on average, which is, you know, really remarkable. And then, yeah, for whatever reason this year in October, we had, you know, the highest amount of travel among our GPS birds. So I thought that was just really
that
cool
was
to
interesting.
include. Yeah.
Yeah, because we usually expect it like August, September, or even July. Those 3 months are usually the big ones. But yeah, it just shows you how much weather, you know, just the, you know, seasonality of weather really influences it. Not only the seasons, but it's just interesting because I know October was hot. You know, it was hotter than usual.
Yeah, for sure. And we only had, I think, maybe one day where we considered the rainfall. So there wasn't a lot of rain. It was really hot. So it was, you know, good for condor travel.
Yeah, really interesting. That's cool. Yeah, it's pretty normal. See them slow down in the winter. Days get shorter. Weather gets rougher. Yeah,
sure.
so December looks like the rest of December looks pretty wet. So which is good for the drought, but if you're a condor trying to increase that average daily flight distance, it's not a good one. It's not very good.
I don't suspect they'll be moving around much this month, but
we're gonna have some grounded birds for sure. So Unipro, since our last update, Unipro made a showing, which was really exciting. Not only that he showed up and we knew he was still alive, and we kind of knew that too. He was wearing a radio transmitter that we pick up periodically, but it was nice to get the visual because we were wondering what the status of his leg was, his injured leg, which we first saw back in September. We observed the injury. We noticed it was the photo down on the bottom left. We noticed his foot was black, and we obviously don't know what caused the injury. We have a lot of suspicions, but we don't know for sure. And the foot was intact, but it was definitely necrotic. It had starting to turn black, so which means it was probably losing blood flow. And then he popped in on the camera again in October, towards the end of October, on October 25th. The foot was still intact. And And just a quick description, the condor's foot, what you would think would be the knee is actually the ankle on the condor. So that that lower part of that looks like a part of the leg is actually the whole entire foot. So the break or whatever the injury happened is right at the ankle of the bone, of the leg bone there. And that when he showed up in October, we noticed that it was actually the foot was beginning to flop around, like it was not, it was going up that wrong direction it shouldn't have. And we kind of had a feeling it was going to fall off. And obviously in December, we saw him again and it confirmed our suspicions that it had fallen off, which, and honestly is probably the best thing that could have happened in terms of just now that injury can heal. You know, if he's lost the foot in terms of infection and that sort of thing. His mobility obviously is highly compromised. It's kind of made him a target for other birds, but he's managing it. He's getting food. If he wasn't able to get food, he would have probably died a while ago. So he's finding a way to, he's finding a niche and a way to get around. So it's pretty incredible. And again, we've never seen this before in condors. And again, he has a chick out in the wild. So we're being very cautious about just grabbing him up. And again, if we took him into captivity, there's really not a place where he could live a decent life in the captivity. So it's kind of it's a tricky business, but the main reason we want to keep him out there, this is the clip. Folks that watch the Explore Cam, explore.org, our Condor Cam on explore.org, saw this as well and posted videos, but I put together kind of for those that missed it when he showed up that day. It was only the course of a few minutes, it was probably 5 to 10 minutes he was there. And this is kind of how he's getting around, which is really interesting. He's obviously just hopping on the one leg, but he's using his wings to help him balance. And again, these older birds are seeing him as a target because normally he would have dominated 650 right there. The bird that's coming up, he usually was higher in the hierarchy than him. So 650 is seeing a window of opportunity to push around a guy that used to push him around. And here we got a good look at the healthy leg, which looks great. And he's also flying really well. Here he's getting chased by a bird here, but he easily eluded this bird. And here he is coming back. And in terms of flight and, you know, obviously his mobility is the biggest issue on the ground. But we didn't see him feed on the cam, but we know he has to be feeding elsewhere. Based on his look, he looks healthy. I mean, he looks like he's not an emaciated bird. He's definitely probably not eating as much as he normally does, but hopefully enough to feed him and his chick. So we have hope that he's still out there. We get signals for him out towards his nest territory, which is where the chick would likely be in that immediate area of the nest, which is a very remote spot. It's one of the most difficult nest areas to get to. And even when we get there, the view is very limited. We'd have to get extremely lucky to even see the chick based on where it is. It's hard to describe the terrain, but trust us in that it's really remote and rugged, which is a great place for a condor nest, really. You want them really remote, you want them rugged like that. But for us humans, it's not the best in terms of trying to spot these guys. But, you know, here's a bird that lost his mate, 438, a Pinnacles female to lead poisoning. And now he's left as a solo dad. And, you know, he's doing his best. And we're pretty optimistic, you know, we're cautiously optimistic that he's, we're hoping for really that we see that his chick show up one day on the cam, you know, as an untagged juvie, and at least we'll know he's succeeded. And then as far as his condition, we're just going to keep monitoring it. He's obviously figuring things out. It's not ideal by any means, but it's amazing how resilient it is. And it's, you know, we consult veterinarians and they are amazed at how well that infection didn't already get him. So he's basically, he's obviously taking care of it on his own. And again, please, for all the cam watchers out there, cam viewers, definitely, we keep reiterating it, just keep your eyes peeled for those untagged juveniles. This is the time of year when they show up. Hopefully we'll get an early Christmas present and get a couple untagged juveniles on the cam this year. We had it happen a couple of years ago, literally right on Christmas Day. We had a untagged juvenile show up. It was pretty awesome. So we're really hoping that everything turns out for the best. Definitely not an ideal situation for 663, but again, just speaks to their resiliency in the wild. So here are the population numbers. We're up to 91, which is awesome. We hit a low of 79 about 6 months ago, which was pretty scary when we had been over 100 right before COVID hit, right before the fire hit. So we're coming back. You know, the flock is so resilient, you can't keep them down. And it's pretty awesome to look at. I look at this chart and what really jumps out at me are those 6 fledged birds. It almost equaled the number we released. And I think next year it's going to surpass the number of birds we release. So things just keep, you know, and that's really where that's the direction we want to go. We want to get these birds producing more in the wild than we can release. And that's really, that will tip the needle in the right direction. And again, we still have the 4 Yurok birds we're holding on to, and we have the free flying condors. The deaths, we haven't had any deaths since the last update, which is great. And we hope to finish out the year without any more deaths. So we were at 13 for the year. 10 of those have been confirmed to be lead poisoning. That's an alarming amount. Mike, who's on the talk today, he's been pushing hard, getting more non-lead ammunition out there. So big kudos to Mike, and big kudos to the hunters and ranchers that are coming to us and making the switch. It's really that simple. Just this switch in ammo can save the lives of condors and a lot of other wildlife. And we want to get that number way down. Obviously, we want to get it down to 0. So this is a great chart. This is what I was hoping to see at the end of 2021, to be back up over 90 birds. And we hope next year we're back in the hundreds. And again, we're pushing the needle back in the right direction. Coming soon, our VWS 2021 annual report. Kathy has put that together for us. It's going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks, right, Kathy? And yeah, we look forward to getting that out. It'll be posted on our website as well as a PDF file to view. And this is our holiday photo to everybody. Obviously, everyone here at Ventana wishes everybody a happy and safe holiday this year. And we look forward to 2022. It even sounds weird saying that, 2022. And we are switching up our Condor Zooms. We're going to Condor Zoominars. We're going to do a webinar Zoom, which will be a little different. It'll be similar. You'll sign up the same way, but we'll be able to have a better layout for our panel discussions when we have guests. It just gives us a lot more ability. And we just made that upgrade a few days ago, and we look forward to giving it a go January 27th at our next Zoom. And again, same time, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can sign up on our website. And that leaves us to questions. Got a lot of questions, Mike?
Quite a few, Joe, yes.
How do I leave?
Scott would like to know a little bit more about the San Simeon 9. Of course, we're all concentrated about the most recent releases, but do we have any information on the whereabouts of the San Simeon 9, other than, say, Teach, who's been on the Explorer camera quite a bit? How about the others? Are they doing okay? Are they nearby? Any update you can provide on those birds?
Yeah, jump in, Darren.
Yeah, I'll start here, and then Evan, Karen, Danae, if you guys have anything to add, feel free to add on. But I think most of those birds are over at Pinnacles National Park, and have been for the past month or two, at least definitely most recently. They seem to be getting most of the signals for those birds and visuals over there. So they seem to have settled in over there for the most part. On occasion, we'll still see them in Big Sur, but I think Pinnacles has become the hotspot for the San Simeon 9.
And 995 Teach, he did an interesting little flight down to Cambria.
Yeah, he's been going down there. looks like he's been following turkey vultures around and finding the food that they're getting into in some of the areas surrounding Cambria. And yeah, we've been going down there trying to get visuals of him whenever he's been down, just trying to make sure we get a look at him, make sure he's doing well. And yeah, he's been doing great.
Yeah, and for folks that live in Cambria in that area, if you're out birding or out or not even birding, just happen to see this one of our condors flying around, always reach out to us, let us know. We usually find out pretty quickly, but it is nice to hear from the community and what exactly the birds were doing before we got there and that sort of thing. It's a huge help. And yeah, so anytime we have birds down around that neck of the woods, we like to let everybody know.
In the last few days, everyone's kind of been watching the weather, especially on the explore.org cam. And I think most people thought that the crew would not be able to put a carcass out for the birds this week because of the long drive and the muddy conditions to get to the site. Dina in Longmont, Colorado asks, what is the strategy for getting the carcasses on the feeding slopes without the condors associating food with people? And maybe tie in that answer to the experience last night for your crew going up to the site. Maybe tell us a little behind the scenes what that's like and what you experienced just last night.
Yeah, well, that was Evan and Danae last night. Maybe you guys can start off.
Yeah, sure. I can jump in. Yeah, so we kind of answer the first part of your question. In order to prevent the condors from associating us with food, we do carcass placements at night. So condors don't have good night vision, similar to humans. It's hard for them to see at night. So in their minds, things go dark, and when they wake up in the morning, there's food out there for them. So it kind of prevents them from seeing us doing the behind the scenes action, even though you guys get to see it usually on camera. Condors don't have that good night vision. So yeah, last night, Evan and I put up some carcasses on the VWS Condor Cam view. We put out 3 carcasses there, and a lot of the drive up, we were just going slow and checking out the road conditions. The road wasn't too terrible. There was a little bit of debris in the road, a few small trees that we were able to move, and some rocks that luckily weren't too large that we were able to just move out of the way ourselves, using good old-fashioned teamwork and just getting that debris out of the road. And everything else at the site looked great. There was no crazy damage or anything like that. So we were able to get out to the site okay and put the cows out at night, and then came back the same night since there was some rain in the forecast during the night and the early morning as well. We didn't want to get stuck up there in case there's any more rain damage happening. So we came back again last night, and we did spread out the cows a little bit up there too. So you'll see 2 cows in view of the camera. There's actually another cow a little bit farther down the slope out of sight of humans, of the camera, but not of the condors. And so that spreading out of carcasses is kind of a strategy we're using, hopefully to enable 663 Unipero to get to that food, and hopefully that'll enable him to feed out of the sight of some of the other more dominant birds, and enable him to get some chances to get food. So that carcass is still available to them, and they'll be eating that one as well. And then the 2 by the cam, you'll be able to see all the birds feeding on those 2.
Yeah, and maybe explain too, Evan or Danae, that what else you put down there by that carcass that we kind of the spread out strategy to help Unipero out. What else? Because folks are probably like, how do you know he feeds down there?
Totally, yeah. So we put a trail camera down there. So that's set to record some video and pictures too, and that'll enable us to document which condors are feeding there, including if 663 shows up down there. So yeah, it's a really important part of it too.
A lot of positive comments about the maps. The maps are certainly a highlight of the Zoom chat. So a lot of thanks go to Evan. And I might just add that Evan is also working on a contract basis between Ventana and Camp Roberts, the military right now, to help the Army National Guard learn more about condor movements on the military base, so that they can improve management to condors and other wildlife. So that's an example of how the GPS also works to protect condors throughout their range. And so the the maps, they depend on condors that are tagged with satellite GPS. And Bruce in Solana Beach, California wants to know, how much does a GPS transmitter cost? And does every condor you release get one of those GPS tags?
Yeah, they range depending on the manufacturer we go with, but they can range from $1,800 to $4,000. And then there's a fee associated with a monthly fee associated with operating the tag. So they're not cheap. And we are working towards, through our fundraising, trying to get every condor in Central California fitted with a GPS. And fortunately, we were able to just order 10 more of a new brand that we haven't tried. So we're excited to try those out. And that will get us, right now, we probably have about half the birds in Central California wearing GPS. This will tip the scales a little bit, get us closer to that 100% of the flock. So yeah, for example, all the release birds that just went out, all were wearing GPS. We prioritize GPS not only for release birds, but also nesting pairs, because obviously we want to know if this nest are successful. Are the release birds doing okay? Ideally, though, we'd have them on all the birds, because every bird is equally important, really, at the end of the day. We really prioritize them because we have a limited amount. And so, yeah, it's a great tool. And, Evan and Darren both have backgrounds in GIS, which is a way to basically to map this data and look at it in all these different ways. And it's really a pot of gold of data for us, especially for someone like me. When I started with Condors, they didn't exist. GPS transmitters, all we had was radio telemetry. Same with you, Mike, when you start out in the field, so for us, it's my head explodes when I see how much data, how much good data we get, and just knowing how much this is going to help protect the species, and not only protect them, but how to work better with, say whether it's wind power or power lines or just any other kind of potential issue we come across with condors. The GPS data really helps us hone down where is the problem, if there is one, and makes us work smarter, really. It's just smarter and more efficiently. So it's, anyway, sorry, long-winded answer for a short question, sorry.
Well, we're looking at a map of the Central California population. Ventana Wildlife Society co-manages that population with National Park Service. We share a database, so we know mutually where birds are going. That map doesn't show the Southern California population below that and curling up into the Southern Sierras. A question from Herb in Texas. Welcome, Texas, to our web chat. Have members of the Central California flock crossed paths with the Southern California flock? Do we see any rivalries, perhaps, between the two groups?
Yeah, I mean, the Southern flock is an older flock. They started releasing in 1992. We started in Central California in 97. So they would be the elder flock, but they mixed initially in the early 2000s. We saw a lot of mixing. And then when the birds started nesting in either area, that mixing slowed down. And now it's fairly minimal. And we think that's basically probably because of the number of birds. We know when we get more birds, that will probably open up. That'll be more of a highway, kind of like Big Sur to Pinnacles has become kind of a highly mixed. Initially they weren't, and then they found each other and they became mixed. So I think as we increase in numbers, we'll see that. And in terms of competing, I think it'd be, once the two flocks mix, it'd be the two hierarchies blending together, and then it will be who will be the dominant birds. And I would assume the oldest birds in Southern California would probably rise to the top. But it's all territorial. It's, it depends on where you're nesting. At Pinnacles, there's dominant birds at Pinnacles, where our dominant birds from Big Sur go over there and they're not as dominant. So it's it's not necessarily that clear,
Yeah, and I'll throw in one last question from Anna in Santa Cruz. She wants to know, is there any potential concern with all of the rains at the sanctuary in terms of our imminent construction? Have the rains damaged any of our plans in that regard, or is it just too soon to say? We don't know what kind of a winter we're in for yet entirely.
Yeah, in terms of the sites themselves, I'm not particularly worried. It's really the road access that we could potentially run into major issues if a section of the road were to wash out. And again, we have our road and our sanctuary, and then we use a Forest Service road to get where we're going. If that Forest Service road has issues, then we have issues because it's one way in, one way out. So there's a lot of places along that trek out to our Condor sanctuary where things could go wrong. And really, I worry about the road. Anytime we get high volumes of precipitation, it's in a short amount of time. And not only that, Highway 1, I mean, Highway 1 could have issues right in Big Sur that could prevent us from getting to the site. So yeah, really the roads are the issue. The actual building sites, we weren't planning because of the weather to even start breaking ground until spring. Because of that, trying to break ground in the middle of winter in Big Sur is, not recommended by any builders, any of the local builders. So it gives us time to finish up the plans, which the timing is going to hopefully work out to where we'll be breaking ground, late spring, so that'd be pretty exciting. And that'd be visible on the cam when we start building the release pin. It'd definitely be visible to everybody so everyone can watch the rebuild in process.
It will be exciting indeed. And
yes,
we have run out of time. Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much to the crew who have joined us from different areas. And thank you for your dedication. Thank you to the 160 plus who tuned in today. We appreciate you joining us. We appreciate your questions. We appreciate your membership in Ventana Wildlife Society.
yes,
your financial support. Happy holidays to all of you from Ventana Wildlife Society. Please keep your questions brewing for our next chat, January 27th. That'll be, as usual, the last Thursday of the month. And so we'll be back on schedule January 27th for the new year. Please join us then. And Joe, I'll throw it to you for any last words, and I look forward to seeing everyone back next month.
Yeah, like we said, we appreciate everyone who watches the cams and post comments. Keep them coming and keep an eye out for those untagged juveniles. And yeah, as Mike said, we're going to switch the next Zoom chats to the 27th, but it will be a webinar format. So it might be a little different, but it'll be similar login, but we'll have more ability on the question and answer. So we're kind of excited about that. And on the comments, it gives us a little more, a lot more ability to interact with everybody and probably feel more questions. So we're excited for the switch. And again, happy, safe holidays to everyone. Thank you for joining. We love the support, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.